Welcome to this week's Hymn of the Week. This week we have EOW 484, You Satisfy the Hungry Heart, also titled Gift of Finest Wheat. This text was composed or written by Omer Westendorf, and he wrote it for the 41st International Eucharistic Congress, which was held in Philadelphia in 1976. The theme of that conference was the hungers of the human family. So you can see why You Satisfy the Hungry Heart was composed for that. Over 200 entries were submitted, and this is the entry that won. The one that has this text by Omer Westendorf that has such a heavy, very deep and restated imagery of the sacrament of communion. So it has hungry heart, we see finest wheat, praise, gratitude, cup we bless and share. All these different words that remind us of communion. The blood of Christ outpoured, for example, one cup, one loaf. The tune by Centennial was composed with this text and submitted by Robert E. Kreutz. And of course it was submitted for the Congress and the Eucharistic Congress. And I'm looking up here, it was published in We Celebrate with Song in 1979. And that's where it carried the title With the Gift of Finest Wheat. Now what's interesting about this song is that it has two long lines. So we have that first one, which is so there's your first two lines. And some scholars believe this is the teleology of the Lord's Supper, so it kind of reminds us of that. I think that's neat to consider, because if I look at it more to today with the Lord's Supper, it's that by this not ending on the tonic, it reminds us that the Lord's Supper, that mystery of the sacrament of Holy Communion, is still alive today and changes us. What's interesting is that the actual key originally was not D major, but D flat major. So it was. Now, depending on what you think of key, I think it's a very beautiful key. Phrases that are long again in the verse, which I just played, and that's in the original key of D flat major. I would surmise that it was probably transposed to D because it's a little easier for people to read. It also makes it more accessible with all types of different musicians, bands, organists, pianists, all across the board. So I could see that happening. Now, what's interesting here is teachers of Robert Kreutz, who was born in Wisconsin, are Leo Sowerby, very famous organist from Chicago. But here's another one, Arnold Schoenberg in California. Now, Schoenberg is known for so many things musically, but what I find interesting here is one of the quotes that's listed in his Harmonielehre book, or Theory of Harmony. And he says this. Well, I want to point out three things, but here's the first one. Nothing is inherently different between consonance and dissonance. Now, so consonance meaning something that sounds favorable to the ear, so to say, we're paraphrasing this a bit, and dissonance that would not. So he's saying basically nothing inherently different other than obviously pitches being different. Now, and therefore, he also states, non-harmonic tones do not exist. So a chord like this, which might not be part of the harmony or that, not really a non-harmonic tone. In other words, it's just part of the music. And here is where I think the style characteristics of Schoenberg have influenced Kreutz in this hymn. This statement, listen very carefully because it moved me when I looked at it. Tone color has a status equal in importance to that of pitch and rhythm. So the color of the tone, the timbre of this piece, is equal in importance to the rhythm and the pitch. Now, when we look at this accompaniment, and noticing that it's so rich harmonically, I think it could have been an influence of Schoenberg. So let's listen. Right? And I would agree with that statement. In many cases, that's where the pitch and rhythm are practically in equal importance, or a status equal in importance to the Tonkaur itself. So wonderful melody here and wonderful text. Here is "You Satisfy the Hungry Heart." You satisfy the hungry heart with gift of finest sweet. Come give to us, O saving Lord, the bread of life to eat. As when the shepherd calls his sheep, they know and heed his voice. So when you call your family, Lord, we follow and rejoice. You satisfy the hungry heart with gift of finest sweet. Come give to us, O saving Lord, the bread of life to eat. With joyful lips we sing to you our praise and gratitude, that you should count us worthy, Lord, to share its every fruit. You satisfy the hungry heart with gift of finest sweet. Come give to us, O saving Lord, the bread of life to eat. Is not the cup we bless and share the blood of Christ our Lord? Do not one cup, one love declare our oneness in the Lord? You satisfy the hungry heart with gift of finest sweet. Come give to us, O saving Lord, the bread of life to eat. The mystery of your presence, Lord, no mortal tongue can tell. All the world cannot contain comes in our heart to dwell. You satisfy the hungry heart with gift of finest sweet. Come give to us, O saving Lord, the bread of life to eat. You give yourself to us, O Lord, then selfless let us be, to serve each other in your name, in truth and charity. You satisfy the hungry heart with gift of finest sweet. Come give to us, O saving Lord, the bread of life to eat. I tried to apply that concept from Schoenberg's Harmonielehre to include more keeping that harmony, or the Kauer, the Tonkaur, equal with the pitch and rhythm. And it's a really neat idea, and I think the piano interprets that very nicely. Thank you very much for listening to Hymn of the Week.